What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? I'm rusty. I have to take a breath. Welcome to the second episode of the new year. So welcome back. Definitely continue to tune in. So Monday and Tuesday are topics, Wednesday's discussion, and then Friday will be episode 300. But it's the also the weekly rundown. We're talking about everything else, so movies, books, games, things of that nature. So definitely tune in for the entire week. We appreciate having you. And without further ado, I'll give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article is actually from bleepingcomputer.com, and it's by Bill Toulis. And the title of this one is Ransomware Profits Drop 40% in 2022 as Victims Refuse to Pay. So this is what we like to see, right? Because we've talked about this before, and there have been different places that have tried to enforce like laws on this happening. But what ended up happening here, though, or what the news is here, is that ransomware gangs extorted from victims about $456.8 million throughout 2022, which is still a lot of money, right? But that was still a 40% drop, which was at the time record-breaking the $765 million recorded in the previous 2 years. So it was actually 765 in 2020 and then 766 in 2021. But yeah, so Chain Analysis is the company that did the numbers on this, and they said that there's this big decline is not driven by fewer attacks or the victim's refusal to pay the hackers, right? Which this is how you discourage this behavior, right? Is people come and say, hey, we got this information, we need you to get this much money, and if you just like, man, I ain't got it, you know what I mean? Like, oh, what's my incentive here, right? Like, because here's the thing. They're running the risk of law enforcement catching on to them too, right? Like we've seen the FBI, we've seen Department of Homeland Security, we've seen all these places go after these ransomware folks, right? So at some point, the juice is not going to be worth the squeeze. But yeah, that's a big drop. 40% is a big drop. But again, it could be one of those things where companies are just like, we're not going to pay it because they are on rough times, right? Like with COVID, it made profits go down and things like that, right? When it was first happening, back in 2020, when COVID was first happening, people were like, okay, yeah, we got to make sure we keep everything up and going and profitable as we need to. But yeah, no, not anymore. They're just like, look, I'm not paying you anything, right? Like go somewhere else with that, right? But yeah, like they were saying, like it's just one of those things where the companies are like, we're not going to pay it. It should be, and it's a disincentive, I guess you would say, to the ransomware folks. I guess is how you would phrase that, disincentive, right? For them to keep doing this type of behavior, right? Now, it's not going to stop them from doing things to get ill-gotten gains, right? They're just going to go about it a different way. But yeah, it was a significant loss, a 40% loss in what they did, and like they even had a chart. They have the chart in here for like paid and did not pay. It goes all the way back to 2019. And back in 2019, 76% of people were paying the ransom, right? And then it was in 2020, it was 70%. In 2021, it was actually 50%. So they still made 766 million with only 50% of people paying, right? So that should let you know how much more they got into it, like with COVID, right? Because we talked about this before. Like during COVID, people were working from home. Like it was a lot more being online. It was kind of easier, probably. To profit from this because they just made it easier for the workers to work from home, right? So then they got all these other cyber vulnerabilities that they can capitalize on and things like that. But in 2021, it was 50% of the people paid, and they still made 766 million. Now, even though it's down to 41% paying, it dropped down to 458 million or whatever that figure was. 450. What did I say it was? 456. 456.8. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, I like to see this, right? Like if you, like I said, it should be a disincentive for them to do this, but this one of those things too, right? Where, okay, if they don't have this to go to, they're going to figure something else out, right? Like when people got the idle hands, they start getting smarter on what they want to do, right? Like they get better at what they're doing. Then they start going after LastPass, you know what I'm saying? So it's so happening, right? But Ryan, what's your thoughts on this?
No, I completely agree. Yeah, like idle hands, right? Tools of the devil. So yeah, that is an interesting way to break it down. I didn't think about like only 50% paid, but it went up. It still went up by a whole $1 million. So that means that the attacks were just that much through the roof, right? You have these small smash and grabs on the moms and pops, but they're going for like large scale Ocean's 13 type situation when it comes to bigger corporations and businesses. But then you saw regulation come in, like you said. So you have the U.S. is trying to make it a law where you cannot pay. They've stepped their game up. They have CISA and the Department of Justice stepping in to help out these companies, like your colonial pipelines and things of that nature. But then in the EU, they're cracking down hard as well. Like they're going to fine you and or give you criminal penalties if you pay ransomware gang. So like they're taking it completely out of your hands. Like if you do this, we will punish you even more. So there's that compliance and regulation on top, which is good for those bigger companies, but with the smaller ones and bigger ones, I should say, just having better backups, having a better like network security and footprint, and some of the coming back to work might be helpful as well. Like I'm not completely for that, right? Like I like the remote work opportunities that are out there, but if you shrink the footprint of your network, you make yourself less vulnerable to bring your own device attacks, things of that nature, because they're within your enterprise at that point, as opposed to being home and hopefully being over VPN or some other encrypted means of communicating. But I say all that to say, we're just getting better, right? Like, so it shows that the attackers are always cutting edge, tip of the spear, but the defenders are starting to step their game up to ensure that all this money is not being lost by companies, which shows that it's no longer what's the term, cost center, and it's more of investment, right? They're not looking at security as, oh, we just have to pay this thing in instances to be compliant, but now it's more of a holistic approach. Like, no, we need to find individuals to secure our stuff to make sure that we have a better rate of return on our investment. So I guess chicken before the egg, cart before the horse type situation.
You gotta take the good preventative measures is what you gotta do, right? Like by hiring those people, just like you're saying.
Yeah. So it's good. It shows that it's ever evolving. So hopefully we get back to those what is it, 2017 numbers, where it was like 46 million, was still a huge chunk, but to go from 46 million and jump to 766 million, these people were making dough. It was definitely worth the risk on their part. They're like, you know what, I might go away for 10 years, but I could make hundreds of millions of dollars. Now it's people are just like, I ain't got it. Or completely ignore you, like I got backups. So we'll wipe these systems and we'll go from there. So like you said, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see the evolution. So just in the 2 years we've been doing it, it's a significant reduction and change and just the mind share and productivity on this side of the house with the defenders. So good stuff. Hopefully when we do this next year, we'll be down to those 2017 numbers or below. Like everybody's just like, we ain't paying. So get a real job, you bums. So we will see what the future holds. But like you said, like there's always like what's the new thing? Like, okay, we can't get money here, so we need to pivot. Just like businesses have to find new markets, so do these bad actors on the interwebs. Like, oh well, my income has significantly lowered. What's my next $100 million heist, so to speak? So
they're like, I was only able to buy one house in the Hamptons this year.
Right,
I can't keep living like this.
One less Lamborghini. Gotta step my game up. So we'll see what happens. Like hopefully it continues to go our way. And hey, if you're out there doing the bad stuff and you want to get a real job, secure job, you should come over to the defense side. Like bring those tools and techniques with you, those tactics, techniques, and procedures, if you will, over to the defense side. So we'll see what the future holds, but definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics. Wednesday discussion goes along the lines of the no-fly list. So that's interesting to bring up. So definitely tune in for that one. And then Friday, like I said, is the weekly rundown where we talk about everything else, so movies, books, games, and TV shows, but it's also episode 300. So we made it. We're what, 2 years and like 2 months in already on episode 300. So we're definitely moving pretty quick. So tune in for that as well. Hit us up on our other social medias, and you hit me up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. I'm on LinkedIn, Clubhouse, and Twitter. And stay safe, stay secure. Go Bills.